One of the primary objectives of the narcissist is to break down the empath. So the narcissist secretly envies the empath. They don't want to show it, but they secretly envy the empath. So they envy what you have. They envy your empathic abilities, they envy your style, and they envy your swagger. But you see, not only is the narcissist beating you down, breaking you down, abusing you, torturing you, and do all sorts of inhumane acts on you, on your life, they're also breaking down your spirit. But you see, this can go on for as long as it can, or as long as it can take, until at one moment that empath realizes enough is enough. And what happens in that moment? The empath snap and they go supernova. And guess what? This is the whole beginning of the story. Good morning, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzomos, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-growth. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, one thing we should realize about the narcissist is the narcissist envies empaths. So we all know at some point that the narcissist does not have empathy, so they lack empathy, and most of the times they usually envy the empath. So they only don't understand how you're able to be yourself and to stand in your power and to be your true authentic self. So they envy your empathy. But you see, the thing is, at the same time, as much as they envy your empathy, they also like your qualities. So what they have to do now is try to find a way to sneak into your life and get close to you and see how can they now start to feed off of your energy, because they really secretly adore you and they really secretly like whatever it is you got going on with yourself. So what will happen is they'll come into your life. Sometimes they may come in as good Samaritans, sometimes they may come in as the helpers, and they may come in that people are coming in like to save the situation. And normally they catch the empath at their most desperate times. So what happens is that you start this kind of relationship with them. You entangle with them, they will love bomb you, and all these kind of things will go on. The processes, we all know the processes, the trauma bonds will kick in, and before you know it, you are entangled fully with the narcissist. And before you know it, you cannot get out. So eventually they'll start beating you down. All of a sudden, they have changed from a very, very sweet, nice, beautiful individual, and now they have turned into monsters. All of a sudden, you don't know the person you fell in love with. You don't know the person that you're living with, and you don't even no longer recognize the person in your bed. So they'll start beating you down. They'll devalue you. They'll abuse you. Most of the time, if you're a wealthy guy, if you're doing well for yourself, they start to siphon all the money out of your wallet. Even sometimes in worst case scenarios, they can even sometimes drain your bank accounts. So they will ask for everything. You will do everything in your power to make sure that you satisfy these individuals. Nothing will work. But you see, the thing is, at a certain point in time, the empath starts figuring out that there is things that they don't really understand about this individual. There is some things that are not adding up. So you are there in your mind fighting with your mind. You're like, how come that the person I met 3 months ago, 6 months ago, they're the complete opposite of the person I met in the beginning? So you're now starting to see a different image of these individuals you're living with. A lot of these things are starting to come out. The intensity of the abuse, the abuse is starting to intensify, because now you can almost see everything. You are in some kind of a toxic situation and in some kind of an abuse, and for some reason it looks as if you cannot get out, because the narcissist, they trauma bond you on purpose. They trauma bond you because they want to keep you trapped in that kind of a way whereby you cannot actually leave them, because they know, I can guarantee you, like, almost 100% of all these individuals, they know at some point things are going to end and you are not going to end up with them. So what they do, they have got to induce that kind of a trauma bond so that they can set you in some kind of a trap and you can never leave them. So it is going to be almost impossible to leave. So as you're figuring out that things are not going well, you know, so probably you're seeing them the way they're treating you, they're starting to treat you very badly. All of a sudden, they were idolizing you in the beginning. Oh, you know, you're very beautiful. They like your body. They like your hairstyle. They like the way you speak, your accent, and all these things like that. All of a sudden, everything has changed. Now they're complaining about your body. Or there's something wrong with your body. I think, you know, you need to eat less, or maybe sometimes you need to eat more because your body is not accurate, or sometimes your body is not perfect. They're now starting to devalue you in some kind of a way, and you don't understand why. The abuse will continue in so many different kinds of ways. We cannot go into the details because you guys already know what we're talking about. So the abuse will always continue in so many kinds of ways. You will see the version of that person you fell in love with, a version that you never expected in the first place, and most of the times it will usually catch you by surprise. So what happens is that as the abuse intensifies, the empaths endure, because empaths are also built in that way that they can always endure this kind of situation. So it's like they can continue enduring, because at some point the empath has got a belief in the back of their head. They're thinking there's going to come a time when things are going to get well. It happened to me, guys, for 7 years. You wake up each and every single day praying that the next day is going to be a nice one, the next day is going to be smooth, so you guys are going to have a beautiful day, you know. But I can guarantee you, it's like a cycle which can never stop. You can go on for that cycle. It's like every single day the abuse is going to intensify. At one day, of course, they may wake up in the day and they act nice, they love bomb you a bit, oh, you know, sweetheart, and this and that. After a few minutes, after a few hours, they go back to their pattern. So these patterns can go on forever. But you see, the thing is, the more you try to fix something is the worse it gets, because the narcissist wants to they enjoy seeing you in that kind of a fix whereby you're trying to fix them, because they know that you cannot fix them. But they enjoy the supply you give them by validating them and trying to fix the situation, because as an empath, you're trying to make the best out of this relationship. You're trying to fix each and everything, but most of the times everything is going in vain because nothing is coming to fruition. The situation is getting worse and worse every day. So at some point, what happens to the empath now? Most of the empaths, what I've done, because I've started the cycle of that situation whereby the empath goes supernova. So what happens usually, the empath, what they do, they withdraw their supply. So most of the time what you will see, there will come that point whereby you will stop like doing the regular things together. You might have enjoyed being in the early days, maybe going for a shopping, you know, going on holidays, you know, cooking a meal together, enjoying these little things that people do when they're in the relationship. So at some point in time, it's like you have enough. You cannot take anymore. It's like you cannot endure this kind of abuse, and for the most of the times the empath, they cut the supply. So what I do, they reduce. So for example, let me say you guys are used to go for shoppings every now and then. All of a sudden you're going to see the empath dragging out of that situation, and they're going to let the narcissist go do the shopping alone, or sometimes they are going to go on the holidays alone, and most of the things you've been doing with them together, you are now going to start to reduce on those activities, because now you realize the more you engage with those individuals is the worse it gets, and the worse you feel about yourself. So now you're starting to drag your supply a little bit and standing back and just watching things from a distance. So that period of starving the narcissist, some people like to call it starving the narcissist. So you start to starve them of the supply. You no longer shop with them. Most of the times you no longer sleep with them as often as you used to. Most of the times you don't want to eat the meal on the same table with them. You don't want to do these little things that you used to do. So you're just sitting down at the back and watching things from a distance. So eventually, the abuse will continue, because at the end of the day, you realize that those individuals, they will never stop. So the abuse will just kind of continue. It will continue. It will even sometimes become worse and worse. Each and every single day that goes by, the abuse keeps on getting worse and worse. And most of the times, the empath feels enough is enough. So what will usually happen is, the empath now, they are going to start extracting. They are going to start finding ways. They may not necessarily do it in front of the narcissist's eyes, but usually they start to find the means and the ways to extract themselves out of those situations, because they now realize that if they do not get out of that situation as soon as they can, that situation is going to drag them. That situation is, if they don't drag themselves out of that situation as soon as they can, it is not going to end well with them, and most of the times it is going to put them in extremely difficult circumstances. Most of the times you guys have heard about people Even sometimes they have died in those kind of situations when they're dealing with narcissists, or even sometimes these other toxic individuals. So what happened is that when the empath finds the point, so the empath, what the empath is looking for, they are looking for that point whereby they can now have the ability to get out of that situation. They're just waiting for the point. They're just waiting for that moment, the right moment to get out. They'll be slowly devising these little means. Okay, so when I move like this, when I move like that, when I save a little bit of money, when I call a few friends, I'm going to at some point move out of these situations. And believe me, before the narcissist does, the empaths get out of that situation. And let me tell you something, chosen ones. Empaths out there, when the empath decides that they're going to leave a narcissist, that is it. You cannot stop them. When the empath has decided that enough is enough, they have taken a lot of abuse, there is nothing more they can do to save that situation. That is when the empath gives up and they throw in the towel and they get up and pack their bags and they leave the situationship. Now, most of the times, the empath realizes that they have been dragged along in the dirt for a good number of years. You know what I mean? So they realize that they realize what they've been dealing with. And they realize that things haven't been going in their favor. They realize that these individuals, they've been taking them for a ride. And now the empath is ready to fight back. And that is exactly what ignites the empathic supernova. When the empath goes supernova, because empaths, they are not people who want to physically harm people, or sometimes it may sometimes get to that if there's no other option, it may sometimes get to that. But most of the time, the empath wants to do it in a safe way whereby it is not going to harm even sometimes physically the other individuals, but they are going to explode. And most of the times when the empath are going to explode, they're going to explode and talk about the truth. They're ready to go on the top of the roof and they're going to scream. And when they start screaming, guys, let me tell you something, you cannot take that microphone from them. They will take the microphone, they will go on the roof, and they're going to scream out this abuse, and they're going to fire back to the narcissist. So that's when you see most of the times the empath, they start to mirroring those individuals. They start to mirror them. Even sometimes, most of the times, they're doing it subconsciously, but most of the time, the empath is going to mirror the narcissist. And they're going to be able to tell them and to mirror to them back exactly what they have been doing to them. And they're going to let it be known to the entire world that whatever it is was going on in that situationship, it was not the truth, it was not the real thing, and it was not right. So they're going to let the whole world know what is going on. For the black sheep who have left your families, a lot of you guys who have left those narcissistic families, you will go on and speak about the truth. You will stand in your authenticity and you talk about the truth. Because remember guys, let me tell you something. When an empath is waking up, the empath, they're remembering who they are. Let me repeat this. When the empath is waking up, the empath is remembering who they are. They are remembering that actually whatever it is the narcissist has turned them to be is not who they are. So it's like somehow their identity has already been stolen or taken away from them. But now they're waking up and they remember that actually they are not the narcissist, they are the empath. So now they're starting to reclaim all their power back from the narcissist. And when I'm talking about reclaiming all their power back, I'm talking about all of their power back. So they are not going to leave the narcissist with nothing. That is why you see a lot of times the empath, when they leave these narcissists, that's when you see them, they are going to start suffering in a way that you have never seen before. They are going to go into a very depressed mode. They are going to suffer. They will feel lonely. They will even sometimes get sicker and sicker. Their health is going to deteriorate because why? The empath has plugged out their cable supplies, their power generators, and they have gone out of that situationship. And the narcissist cannot handle that because they've been used to you feeding off of fuel, feeding into them, giving them, validating them, encouraging them, and all these kind of things. Whatever it is you've been doing to them, they have been used to that for a very long period of time, and they cannot process the fact that at one point in time you have shut the gates, you've gone out of that situation, and you've unplugged all your cables, and you've gone your own way. So most of the times they're not ready for this, and they can never see this coming. So that is the moment where you see the empath. They will always remember who they are, and when an empath remembers who they are, that empath is a very dangerous individual. I can guarantee you guys, ladies and gentlemen, the empath who ever remembers who they are, those are very difficult and very dangerous individuals. Those are the individuals, even narcissists, they don't want to come near them because they already know what is going to happen. So most of the times when you're going supernova, it's like, I remember my days, in those days, I went supernova. I started firing back. I did not care who was listening. Because you see, the thing is, there comes a point whereby you feel there's nothing more to lose. It's like you've lost enough already. You have lost enough. You have lost a lot of money. you've lost your health, you've lost you've lost your sanity, you've lost each and everything that used to describe you as an empath in your true authenticity. You've lost each and everything about you, and now you feel there's nothing more to lose. That is exactly when you know it is time to fight back. And most of the times, I can guarantee you, the very moment you start fighting back, that is when you're going to see those narcissists. They are going to flee. They are going to flee in a way you've never seen before. You are never ever going to hear a word from them, because they know whatever it is they say or they speak, it is going to turn against them, and it is not going to usually end well with them. So they are going to flee and go into hiding. That's when you see a lot of these narcissists. They will go quiet. It's like all of a sudden, after so many years, they never existed. They are somewhere hiding quiet. But hiding doesn't always mean they are not watching you. They are watching you behind closed doors, because at some point they know that you're still somewhere, somehow, firing back at them, and they are watching you from a distance. Sometimes they are going around on the social media. They are seeing what it is you're posting back. So a lot of guys who are not yet like into the habit of speaking or things like that, some of them, they go into their social media, they start to expose them, they start to do all these kind of things, they start to send out a lot of messages, but in the most humble way. Because remember, guys, again, I've told you, empaths will always be empaths. So most of the time they're doing these things in a very humble way, whereby they're not even sometimes causing physical damage. Physical damage might only be caused only when it's necessary. When it comes to that moment whereby you really have to defend yourself, that is when sometimes it may even sometimes get physical. But most of the times, the empath, they want to harm those individuals in a way that is not going to actually endanger them, or even sometimes bring them into get physical, or put them in some kind of physical situations. So the empath, when they go supernova, those empaths, they are very dangerous. The narcissists, they will know. Most of the times when you go supernova, they are going to know that it's game over for them. So they are going to know at some point in time that they can never even think about coming close to you, because they already know what is going to happen to them. The empath no longer cares. They have been caring for long periods of time, and that moment they no longer care what is going to happen. They are going to fight. They are going to use all the means they have necessary to make sure that they protect their energy, they protect themselves, they guard themselves, and they're very wary of whoever it is trying to come into their lives. So it is going to come to that point whereby the gates are completely shut. And most of the time, the empath, that's the moment where you see a lot of empaths. They try to go, they try to go into hermit mode. Actually, I'm going to make a video about hermit mode. So I remember myself when I got this, when I went through the discard with the greater narcissist. I've told you guys the story of the greater narcissist. So when I went through the discard of the greater narcissist, I was like, okay, so now this is enough. I'm going to start fighting back with these individuals, and I'm going to show them exactly who they are. I'm going to show them exactly what they're all about, and nothing is going to stop me. So I went out, and I went quiet. I went into hermit mode, and I started working on myself and doing everything in my power to make sure that I reclaim back my power and I get my sanity back and everything back in place. And guys, I can guarantee you down the road, everything worked for me. So when you hear about empaths going supernova, it is that time where the empath is like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. No more BS, no more chaos, no more drama. They have heard it all, they have seen it all, and there's nothing more. You can no longer convince those kind of individuals. They know what is abuse, and they can recognize it, and they know how to deal with it. And let me tell you, an empath that has gone supernova, that is the empath you don't even want to sit next to, because that empath is going to mirror back to you everything that you think you're hiding, or everything that you think you're hiding beneath the surface. So until then, guys, let me know if this video resonates. Let me know if you've been an empath who has gone supernova and you started fighting back, you started taking back your power, reclaiming back your power, and you started claiming back your sanity and getting back to your true authentic version. Let me know if I'm talking to you in this video. Until then, guys, leave us a comment, like the video and share. Let us know what you think. Comment and subscribe, of course, and donate and support to this channel if you want to. Until then, guys, we lovely to have you guys on board. Much love and blessings. Desmo signing out, and peace.